Welcome, lads. We're back for another rogue tradering. This time, we have to get into the map. I mean, that's the most important part, is actually getting into the map. Here we are. This time, we are heading straight for our favourite prison planetoid. So let's go. Damn it, no interruptions. Carking hell.
Lord Captain, sorry to disturb you. Victus pauses as if listening to something. It's pandemonium outside the bridge gate. One of the officers seems to be demanding an audience with you in person. I think I hear Master Wissarian's voice. In any case, I wanted to warn you in advance.
Cock nuggets. It's always something. Let's go. I just wanted to go to a prison rock. I love that she's in blue armor. I may, in Dark Tide, buy some blue armor to go around as a naval trooper for a bit. I don't want to be a naval trooper, but I'd give him some honeys. The everyday sounds of the bridge are disrupted by voices raised in anger. Abelard's voice, the loudest of all. This is not the conduct of an officer! These are the antics of a highborn brat out on a lark! Explain yourself, Lieutenant! The young woman standing before Abelard strives with all her might not to quail under the onslaught of her superior's anger. She falters, but then manages to look him in the eye and say, I apologize, sir, but I must speak to the Lord Captain. Very well, Lieutenant. You may address the Lord Captain, not least because I see you have already seen fit to disturb him. Your unauthorized appearance on the bridge and display of belligerence towards a higher-ranking officer will be logged on your personal file without delay.
Lord Captain, Lieutenant Avrilla Vent requesting permission to speak.
Vent falls silent, then adds rashly,
on a matter of extreme importance and urgency.
Oh, well, you're here. You may speak, but I want to hear a report, not a shouting match. Having two officers bickering in full view of the bridge is unacceptable. That's true enough.
I'm sorry, Lord Captain. I thought that drastic times called for drastic measures.
Vent exclaims hotly.
This matter cannot wait. Any minute now, an assault unit will be dispatched to the lower decks and orders to crush the workers' strike by any means necessary. But I'm convinced that this step is unwarranted and that the crisis itself was provoked by the actions of one of the senior officers.
Vent is almost trembling with tension as she delivers her speech, her face extremely pale. Abelard, in no hurry to intervene, lets out a skeptical huff.
Lord Captain, I urge you to investigate the actions of Seneschal Wissarian and to intervene in what's happening on the lower decks, because very soon we will have a mutiny or a massacre on her hands.
Vent reels off the last words as though she knows them by heart. She's clearly been preparing to say them for some time. When she is finished, she casts an anxious glance at Abelard, then at you. There's an insurrection in the making aboard my ship, and no one has informed me. I would not deem it a problem worthy of the rogue trader's attention. The lower decks, as it so happens, are in revolt. 30-some years ago, we even had a revolutionary leader rise up who dared to establish workers' rule across the entire ship. It took a month to restore order, but even 8 years later, we were still battling rumors that the hero had survived his execution and was on the verge of gathering people to fight against tyranny once more. Abelard scoffs. Needless to say, the rumors were baseless. As for the current situation, we have sufficient enforcers to deal with it.
But on this ship, the word of the Lord Captain carries more weight than a salvo from 100 bolters. I'm sure that if the rogue trader addresses the malcontents directly, he will quell the unrest.
I dread to think what problem you will disturb the rogue trader with next. Perhaps you will ask the Lord Captain to break up brawls in the mess room. I have already given you the means to resolve this problem. You simply need to use them.
If I may, your lordship, sending a hit squad to crush the rebellion is a means of ignoring the problem, not starting it.
I don't really care how it started. Where does the Seneschal come into all this?
I shall explain, Abelard intones grimly. I beg you to hurry. Time is running out.
I will not hurry.
Since my competence is under scrutiny, I shall speak for as long as I see fit. There is an established order to the way things are done on this ship, and one of the pillars of that system is that the rogue trader's attention is not distracted by trivial matters. It is the seneschal's role to ensure that. I have always handled internal problems myself, so of course, when I received information about cultists hiding in the lower decks, I took the matter in hand. So long as I live, not one of the vermin who murdered Theodora von Valancius will find refuge on her ship.
That's a good man.
You were far too heavy-handed, Seneschal Wissarion. Arrests, interrogations, mass punishments for entire sectors. It has driven the people to the brink, Vent says bitterly. Now there is a strike on the lower decks in Depot 4. To be precise, 3 worker clans are involved, but many more are passively supporting them. The situation could degenerate into an all-out insurrection, but when I reported my concerns, the only response I received was an order to dispatch an assault unit and crush the strike with maximum force.
Abelard, what do you have to say to all this?
I see no need to add anything. I acted within the remit of my authority, guided exclusively by the best interests of your protectorate and your personal safety. If you wish to confirm the rectitude of my actions for yourself, I have no objections.
Good. That's what we're going to do then.
For my part, I urge the captain to go down to the lower decks, stop the assault unit, and speak directly to the people. You will see that they're not lying or harboring heretics. That way you can stop the uprising before it begins.
All right. I've heard enough. I'll go down to the lower decks and deal with the problem personally.
Praise the Emperor. Vent cannot contain relief. Thank you, Lord Captain.
Abelard grits his teeth slightly.
An enterprise bordering the sophomoric, but please yourself,
Lord Captain. However, I categorically insist that I escort you. Fine. Let's go. Please. I don't want any more squabbling on my ship. Has me practically feeling like it's a goddamn advertisement for Raid Shadow Legend. No, wait, no. Can't do that. Alright, we've got some gameplay. Let's go. Oh, wait. No, that was quick.
Hey, it's Wissarion. Take that, scum.
Blech. Oh god, they're throwing acid at him. Look who it is. It's all his fault. All of it. They threw acid or vomit at him.
Abelard reflexively wipes the sweat from his brow in a startlingly human gesture. A telling one. A rare moment where he allows his age and weariness to show through his armor-like veneer of self-assurance.
The lower decks are a source of endless problems. Sometimes I dearly regret that we cannot replace all the locals with servitors. Did you hear? They were shouting your name.
Of course they were. The organization of the daily, routine life of the ship rests upon my shoulders. The mountain of challenges and problems from which I endeavor to insulate you, Lord Captain. The situation on the lower decks has been a cause for concern, and I have intervened personally on more than one occasion. That must be why they remember me. They do not know your face. To them, you are akin to a creature of legend, one who has stood on the steps of the Golden Throne, no less. Whereas I am the man whose name is attached to every order docking rations or lowering the bay's heating.
Well, that right there is a dick move. Don't lower the heat on people. God damn it. I don't even care. No, I don't care that they disrespected you. You just said you lower the heat. Don't be a dick. By the way, that's another big-ass bolt right there. Stick it back into the goddamn place it's meant to be. Let's keep moving. We need to get to the bottom of this. Abelard, I lose. See, look at this person here. Cold. They're rabble. They have nothing to do with this, Abelard. Let's see if there's any goods around. Well, nobles from the upper decks, come here to see us. Oh, there's the assault squad.
The sounds of a heated discussion reverberate through the ship's bays. Lieutenant Avrilla Vent of the ship's enforcers is barring the path of a heavily built assault unit officer, and judging by their expressions and tone, the standoff has dragged on for some time already, and has now reached a boiling point.
I have my orders to put an end to the unrest and purge this sector.
You can take your orders and shove 'em. This is my deck and my sector. There are only 3 people who can waltz in here without my express permission. The first officer, the rogue trader, and the Emperor himself.
So not all my lessons fall on deaf ears. Abelard mutters in a crabby approval. He does not clarify whether he means Lieutenant Vent or the officer looming over her, or both.
Your lordship!
Noticing you, the 2 junior officers snap to attention and salute, their subordinates following suit a moment later. What is the situation?
Your lordship, my people have locked down the bay where the strikers are, including their leaders. We have the situation under control as far as resources allow.
I want to speak to him. I don't care about the other fluff, by the way. I am direct at this. Abelard's mouth twists, but he restrains himself and says nothing.
Right you are, Lord Captain. Allow me to wish you good luck.
Hope gleams in Lieutenant Vent's eyes. All right, Abelard, I know you've got your knickers in a twist, but let's just do this the right way, okay? We know these guys could execute this entire lot and would probably frag the rest of this unit. Oh, hey, he's got a cyber arm. I like that little piece. A dozen pairs of eyes stare apprehensively at you. The people before you are typical inhabitants of the lower decks. You take in their simple clothing, crude weapons, and faces that display varying levels of mutation, from barely discernible to the strange to the outright grotesque. A whisper passes through the crowd, and you detect a mixture of fear, astonishment, and joy in their reactions. Finally, 3 people break away from the crowd, an elderly woman and 2 men. These must be the leaders. They bow clumsily before you.
Lord Captain, you have come down to see us?
Tell me what's troubling you. Why are you striking?
Striking? That's news to us, your lordship, says a tall, thin man in worker's garb. All we're doing is asking questions, saying what we think.
Shut up, Rivet!
Snaps the old woman, who turns her hostile dark eyes on you.
Here's the deal, your lordship. Our damned enforcers are all over us down here. They say they're looking for cultists. One wrong word and they're reaching for their batons. If they want to punish someone, they turn off the heating of the whole base for weeks at a time. So we get sick and freeze. In my clans, 2 little ones died from inflammation in their lungs, all because of those enforcers.
The old woman spits at the floor and rubs at the spittle with the toe of her worn-out shoe. Magenta does not interrupt the workers, but you see the sadness well in her eyes. When the children's deaths are mentioned, she quietly whispers a requiem prayer and makes a sign over herself. It's all true. Vent is the only enforcer officer who stood up for us. It's clear as day who had a mother from the lower decks and who grew up amidships and has no fellow feeling towards us. The grim man with the scarred face throws up his arms. Your lordship, we're no villains here. We're honest workers, your servants. We've plotted no disorder. We went on strike openly, and now we got guns pointed at us. All we're doing is asking to be allowed to work in peace without being harassed. The persecution started apropos of nothing, you say. I was told one of you was found in possession of a cultist amulet. and that there are heretics hiding here.
Cultist amulet? What's that? The Guga they found on the dead drunkard? If it was something evil or forbidden, we sure didn't know. The enforcers just said that they were looking for heretics among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. The enforcers just said that they were looking for heretics among us, and anyone obstructing their investigation would be punished. But how could there be heretics here? We know our own people. There have been no new faces around. Definitely not. And if there were, we'd be the first to report them.
I know it's for this amulet, or whatever it is. They took it off a dead body. There are no cultists still breathing in our sector, that's for sure. But when that fight broke out, some enterprising folks looted the bodies, the boots they came back with. Nobody's ever seen tread these decks in boots so fine, I can tell you that. Seems to me these cultists have better commanders than us.
Oh yeah, those boots were really fine, and there was no harm in taking them, right? As for the amulet, it must have been pocketed by someone who didn't know any better. We don't need any amulets around here. We all worship the Emperor, and we're working. We bow down before the machine spirits of the large and small transformers and the servo motor, and in the same way my grandfather was taught 100 years ago by a tech priest who came calling. Believe us, your lordship, we're people of faith. Naive children. Weren't you taught from an early age the dangers of the archenemy's creations? Weren't you warned that any unfamiliar object could be one of them?
We were told, holy sister, but it was long ago. Last time we saw a confessor in our sector, it was just after I had my third little one.
Emperor, that's old.
That is regrettable, but you cannot lay the burden of leading a righteous life on the shoulders of holy fathers. Who will you blame when beasts crawl out of those amulets you stole from the heretics? The Holy Father who was not there, or the scavenger who brought evil down on himself and his neighbors?
Argenta, I love you. Shut up.
Gods.
Abelard, do you have anything to add?
I authorize the use of all necessary measures to locate Chaos worshippers hiding in this sector. The specific steps taken by the officers were not reported to me. Abelard frowns, clearly disgruntled at having to explain himself in the workers' presence. Nevertheless, I am certain that their actions were justified. Cultists are no drunken stevedores. They are the enemy, and a threat to the ship. Neutralizing them demands decisive action.
What changes do you want? I don't care about this. It doesn't matter to me. What changes do you want?
Oh, will you look at this? The exalted Lord Captain himself is asking us bilge rats what we want. Well, here's what. We want you to rein in your damned enforcers, to quit turning off the heat, and to stop battering everything that moves. No, that's not it. We want the enforcers gone from here, and we want to be armed. Give us arms. We'll govern ourselves. We'll defend ourselves. If these cultists do show their faces, I've been a leader of my clan for 20 years now. Getting rid of these club-wielding thugs can only improve things around here.
Oh, it's not gonna happen, sorry, love. I understand, but it's not gonna happen.
You've gone too far, old man. They'll never let the maggots on the lower decks live without the enforcers breathing down their necks. They probably even insist on the enforcers on the upper decks, too. As for weapons, what do we need them for? Before the first day's out, we'll have someone shooting their neighbor out of stupidity or drunkenness. We don't need that. Even if the enforcers stop harassing us, that'll be enough. In return, we'll find the scavengers who robbed the cultists' bodies, and we'll talk to them, one lower decker to another. If there are any more of those damned amulets about, we'll hand them over to the enforcers ourselves.
That I can get behind.
You speak for yourself and your clan. I'll speak for mine and me. I don't want empty gestures. I want real change. They'll promise us the world now. But as soon as the Anointed One turns his back, these brutes will be on us even harder than before. All because we dared speak out.
The tall worker's eyes dart between the two arguing leaders every few seconds. He opens his mouth as if planning to agree, but each time he falls silent, simply making a few vague noises of approval. That's Abelard. The story about going scavenging for boots and accidentally picking up a heretical amulet doesn't convince me. These people were moments away from rebelling and possibly becoming minions of the archenemy. We must not give them what they want, even if they did acquire something innocently, purely out of their own stupidity. That does not mean they are not tainted with corruption. What begins as petty thievery can turn into a far graver problem. I have seen it before. Abelard's face darkens momentarily. In my second war, there was a sergeant in the Imperial Guard regiment that was stationed nearby. The sergeant took an ordinary pocket knife from the body of a heretic, and his whole unit lost their lives for it. When they finally managed to break into the barracks, they found not a single survivor, only the pocket knife, which had grown through all the rows of the beds like a metal-choking vine. So when it comes to scavengers, malcontents, strikers, or whatever they'll turn into next, my verdict is simple. Give them no quarter. Christ, that bit of writing right there is so good. Oh man, the demonic pocket knife is it's so bombastic and outrageous, but yet it's so vivid in the imagery of the way that was written. I love that. Yeah, that was definitely some of the most ingenious way to write. Caution over mundane objects. Coercion. Spreading anarchy on the ship is the first step towards embracing chaos. Putting weapons into untrained hands would be even worse. What's more, the enforcers are needed to maintain oversight and order. Withdraw to these demands, and we will consider the rest. Oh shit, it worked. The tall worker they call Rivet shrugs and casts a sidelong look at the old woman. Old Nan, listen. The Lord Captain himself has come down to us and is offering concessions, and I don't know a single person in the whole of Depot 4 who's ever stood next to a rogue trader, let alone talk to them. Back down, now's no time for you to be a stubborn old crone. Listen to us, old Nan. The 3 clans of Depot 4 ought to act as one. We've made up our minds. It's your turn to decide. Don't ask them to disband the enforcers or give us weapons. We don't need any of that. The old woman hisses in dissatisfaction. You two are ganging up on me? Is that it? So brave you are against an old woman. But I'll shut up. I will indeed. I won't go against 2 clan leaders on my own. But if you want to make peace with the enforcers, make your peace. That's just great. Oh, it's great. Just fantastic. Lord Captain, we're all agreed. Then he's decided. The persecution will stop, and I will expect you to assist in locating any remaining amulets or weapons left by the cultists. Your lordship, thank you. You have not abandoned us lower deckers. You came yourself and settled everything. Oh, tell my grandchildren about this. Of course, your lordship. We'll root out any nasty business faster than the enforcers, and we'll leave no stone unturned. This completed bedlam. Are you satisfied, Lord Captain? Oh, he's mad. He's mad. I'm not going to explore. Even if there are goods here, eh? I think it only right for us to just leave the goods be. I'm not going to take from the lower deckers. Stopping unexpectedly, Abelard imperiously dismisses the unit to stand at a distance, and addresses your other companion, saying, I have urgent matter to discuss with the Lord Captain. Please give us a moment. Abelard looks at you. His last vestiges of restraint vanish. Well, are you pleased with your investigation, Lord Captain? You kowtowed to the disloyal rabble, you believed their lies, and showed them leniency. Next time the ship is attacked by cultists, that rabble will welcome them in open arms and allow them to wreak whatever havoc they like, because they see you as a weak leader.
Oh, Abelard, you're crossing a line.
Is that how you want to see your future at the helm of Von Valancia's Protectorate?
Do not speak to your Lord Captain in that tone. Wait a minute, I see a better one immediately. Let's talk about your role in all this instead. You allowed this revolt to happen. Your actions practically guaranteed it would.
I would have handled the situation myself had you not decided to intervene, Abelard says irascibly. Remember Lord Captain Theodora. Do you think she ever set one slippered foot on the lower decks? No, she did not. Such matters were left to myself and the junior officers while she dedicated herself to her grand designs for the Protectorate, as any true strategist and rogue trader ought.
Maybe if Theodora had spent more time on trifling matters, she wouldn't have wound up dead. There's a new Lord Captain aboard this ship now. I will not repeat her mistake. I would be only too willing to trust my seneschal and not fill my head with such matters, but the situation had spiraled out of your control, Abelard. I won't shit on the dead. Too much. But I will say this.
Abelard's face relaxes slightly.
You're right. At least as concerns junior officers making complaints directly to you. No. I mean what I said. Is spiraled out of your control, Abelard. And Abelard stands at attention. I lost my temper, Lord Captain. And I believe I ought to explain myself. Abelard speaks slowly, the words not coming easy to him. The prosperity of the Von Valancia's Protectorate is not just an empty phrase to me. I left the Imperial Navy for the chance to see it flourish. It was the most momentous decision of my life. I did it because I saw in Lord Captain Theodora's deeds the sign of a true greatness. Rogue traders do not simply forge new routes and capture worlds. They create order out of anarchy. The creative impulse was entirely lacking during my time in the military. So I left behind everything I had known, everything my family had known. I come from a long line of officers, and I embarked upon this incredibly reckless venture. Lord Captain Theodora entrusted me with all the concerns she had no time for. She would go off on her flagship for long periods to distant frontiers on scouting voyages, and the advancement of the entire Protectorate rested on my shoulders. And then suddenly, everything that had been built over years and years began to quake, rattling like a flimsy hangar on a seismically active world. One of the senior officers betrayed us all. The rogue trader was killed, and who knows what is happening on the planets. I tell you this honestly, without a fear of appearing weak. All this has come as a grievous blow to me. I'm not panicking or grieving, because I cannot allow myself to panic or grieve. I'm duty-bound to aid the new rogue trader, to aid you, to find your footing as quickly as possible. And to do that, I must insulate you from problems that in the past have been dealt with by tried and tested procedures set out by the ship's regulations, procedures that were established long ago and have functioned smoothly for decades, cannot suddenly be deemed excess to requirements. Theodora trusted in established procedures, and she died. I won't make the same mistake. If you want to keep building the future of the Von Valancia's Protectorate with me, stop living in the past. I understand, but you need to learn how to respect me as your Lord Captain and rogue trader. Accept it and start living in the new world, a world where Theodora is gone, and where you and I have new decisions to make. I can honestly say I am more of these new ages. I will be a little bit more. I will go with 2. I'm a little more gentle. Actually, you know what? I will go with 1. This is a moment where I will say I will kind of punch on the dead a little bit.
Abelard solemnly inclines his head. Yes, Lord Captain. After a moment's silence, he adds, looking at you with interest. Your resolve is admirable, and demonstrates strong leadership. I shall remember this moment should my old habits ever begin to creep back in. And now please, let us leave the lower decks. If the rogue trader desires to stretch his legs, there are far more suitable places.
All right, Abelard. All right. Let's go back to the upper decks. Thank you, everyone, for joining me for today's episode. I hope you enjoyed an unexpected dive down into the lower decks. Next episode, we're going to that prison planet. I can tell you that carking much. I will see you in the next one. Shout out to the patrons. Thank you so much for supporting the channel on Patreon. You too can support the channel on Patreon by heading down in the description below. You can also support by becoming a channel member, or you can support for free by hitting like, subscribe, the bell notification, and commenting, and letting me know what was your favourite part of today, and how you're enjoying Rogue Trader so far. Catch you in the next one, lads. Peace.